Welcome back, fan stands, to a Week 16 finals between Turbofog and Rakdos Aggro. Turbofog was played by Ryan this week. It looks to prevent combat damage through a bunch of fogs and eventually mill out the opponent with fraying sanity. Meanwhile, Rakdos Aggro, played by Joe, seeks to play a bunch of black creatures fast and pump them up with Bad Moon. Let's look at game one. Alright, we have Ryan playing Turbofog on the left, and then Joe playing the Rakdos Aggro or Bad Moon deck on the right. Now, notably, Joe here is with a 2-0 record, looking to secure a ticket for themselves. Meanwhile, Ryan is 1-1. No contention for ticket yet. They're going to play so that they can get the points for the end of the season. Looks like we have Joe on a mulligan to 6. And we'll have Ryan start us off with Mox Jet, Mox Emerald, and a Hex Parasite. But Joe's going to say no way Jose and Mental Misstep. Going to Joe's turn. Ryan, notably no land and no blue mana. But Joe will play a Badlands here. Ryan missing land drop again, and Joe's going to capitalize on it with a Black Knight. Ryan, no access to white mana just yet, except until now. Looks like that might be a taiga, but it's hard to tell with the art. And just a pass of the turn. Joe with another land drop. Gonna start by attacking. And Ryan will just take the 2. Joe will deploy another Black Knight. Now Ryan doesn't have any sweepers in their list, so Joe's free to just continue playing creatures out to the board and will want to attack as much as possible to force Ryan to use their fog spells. Looks like Ryan's even looking at a Tangle in hand right now. Four mana, nothing to do. Probably something at instant speed. Joe's not worried. He's gonna pump the teen with a Bad Moon. Black creatures get +1/+1. And do it again. Swinging with 2 4/4s right here. And Ryan, yeah, just takes it, goes down to 10. End of turn, Ryan will cast Factor Fiction. We've got Tameo, Gemstone Mine, Surgical Extraction, Tropical Island, and another land. The cool thing about this split is that whatever pile Tameo isn't in, she can grab the cards from the rest, or from the other pile. And looks like Ryan's going to favor being able to continue to make their land drops, continue to get their mana, and we'll take the 3 mana pile. And for 4, we have Tameo. And it looks like she's upticking. What card is named? We have Fa, Fraying Sanity, Ashiok, and Ashiok. Looks like Ashiok was the card named. Tameo letting you keep every copy of the named card. And with this, it seems like Ryan's going to want to start winning the game. But we have a discarding down to hand size, so maybe Ryan not looking to Ashiok twice just yet. But Ryan will fog, preventing this 8 damage from Joe. Joe specifically on a Rakdos list as opposed to a mono black list so that they can have access to Lightning Bolt. So if Ryan had got themselves down to 2, all Joe needs to do is just top deck something to win the game. And for Joe, there's really no reason not to continue playing out all the creatures that they can. Ryan gonna tap 3 for Ashiok Dream Render. It's got a static ability that lets people not search their libraries, as well as downtick target player mills 4, and then you exile your opponent's graveyard. So this is one of Ryan's win conditions. Milling out the opponent through Ashiok and Fog, really synergizing well with Planeswalkers because it prevents all combat damage, not just combat damage to players. So able to play these Planeswalkers out into this huge board without fear. And Ashiok is going to mill 4 from Joe. Nothing really scary milled besides maybe that Dreadhorde Butcher and access to unblockable damage if Joe has like some sort of kill spell to kill his own creature and fling damage directly at Ryan. But here we see the synergy with Tamiyo specifically, where she can bring back fogs and protect herself. Emmett Eternal, a 6/6. It's a 5/5 pumped by 2. And then with a -1/-1 counter. With the casting of Tangle, it'll be a little bit smaller. Now, that's the first time that Joe has seen Tangle from Ryan. Tangle, not only a fog for the turn, but any creatures that attacked don't untap during the next untap phase. Here we have Tamiyo upticking. Looks like we missed on whatever we were looking for. But yeah, with Tangle preventing that the untap of the creatures, maybe in the future Joe will want to not attack with everything. That way it can make these Tangles not as great at double fogging. We've just got Vault Scourge going to the dome for 3. Bad Moon making even the daintiest 1/1s into huge threats on their own. We have Tamiyo downticking again. This time, instead of grabbing a fog, we're going to grab Tezzeret's Gambit. Kind of able to refund Tamiyo's cost of downticking by 3. Going to refund that only to 2. Oh, Ryan paying 2 life, going down to 5. Maybe feels a little safer knowing that Joe has a lightning bolt in exile. But still, at this point, Ryan has to play an extremely tight game to make sure that they don't fall to the critical 3-point life total. Tapping Ipnu Rivulet for Hex Parasite. Down-ticking Ashiok. And passing the turn. Yeah, the cool thing about Tamiyo rebuying Tezzeret's Gambit, rebuying Fog and Tangle, is that they essentially buy extra turns for Tamiyo to uptick. Fog is 1 free uptick if no creatures are played afterwards. Tangle, potentially 2 free upticks if all the creatures remain tapped. Here we have Fog again on the board. Emmett Eternal with 5 -1/-1 counters on it. Typically sent straight to the graveyard, and Ryan a little curious when Joe points at the bad moons. These bad moons. any regrowth effect, almost acting like a demonic tutor, just with how fully stocked Ryan's graveyard is. And yeah, we've got an onlooker pointing at the Amit. Bad Moon's keeping that thing alive. Tamio continuing the mill plan, but did not find what she was looking for. That's okay, she'll find something a little bit later. Ryan with another fog in hand. Planeswalkers protected. Hex Parasite, if they wanted to, could get into the red zone, but no real reason to when looking to win through mill and not damage. And we've got the team getting sent in yet again. And another fog to counter the attack. Amit a little bit smaller. Ooh, and Ryan just drew Fraying Sanity. That's a curse enchantment that on each end step, that player who's enchanted mills X cards, where X is the number of cards that were put into the graveyard from anywhere. So whether that was from the battlefield by creatures dying, or cards being discarded, as we see with Wheel of Fortune, or with mill. And Joe's going to respond to Ryan's wheel with this lightning bolt. We've got surgical extraction on the lightning bolt from the graveyard. Gonna put that into exile. Great thing that Ryan had black mana available for this play. Otherwise, they would have had to pay 2 life and lose the game. But this makes sure that with the Wheel of Fortune, it's much less likely for Joe to top deck the final bolt to deal the final points of damage. And at this point, Joe's just going to have to do it the hard way. He's going to have to swing at Ryan and hope that they can connect through the fog. And by drawing a whole nother grip of 7, this is going to significantly advantage Ryan. The ability to draw more fogs, the ability to draw more regrowth effects. And looks like our judges placed a spin down to signify how many cards have gone to the graveyard this turn for Joe. That way we know how much to mill for the trigger. So both players fresh 7s. Ryan still has the ability to act, but only 2 mana up. And it looks like we're going to rebuy probably Tangle. Yep. And saying goodbye to Tamio here isn't that big a deal because we probably drew another Tamio, but looks like maybe we didn't draw another Tamio. Looks like there's a lot of lands in Ryan's hand. But we do have double Ipni Rivulet plus Ashiok. That's 12 mil right there. And then the Fraying Sanity would be another 12 mil. Right now, Ashiok downtick is going to mean that Joe has an additional 7 cards to mill at the end step. So with a burst of 24 mil next turn, Ryan's probably got this locked up. But it isn't over till it's over. Now with the Tangle here, you've got one blocker from Ryan. You could just send the Volt Scourge over the top, but maybe Ryan has some sneaky removal. So you'll want to send maybe the Dread Malkin as well. That way you can keep some of your other creatures untapped. This is all assuming that Joe's able to get 2 combat steps. But I think the library is looking very low. Let's see what Joe can do. We've got a Claim to Fame, we've got Dreadhorde Butcher, we've got some other creatures. And we're just going to attack with all. And Ryan will just tangle them all up. Again, this tangle not that big a deal because Joe just has a full hand of cards to deploy. And in fact, any black creature will be lethal if it connects with double Bad Moon out. Even if it was a lowly will-o'-the-wisp. And yes, even instants and sorceries that go to the graveyard after being played count towards Fraying Sanity's mill. Swamp and Gemstone Mine tapped for a Black Knight. We saw those very early on in the game. And we might see it on Joe's last turn of the game. We're getting a library count now. So Ryan firmly aware that they'll be able to lock it up. We've got a Bond of Insight played, and Joe, seeing the writing on the wall, is going to concede. Here's game 2. All right, we've got both players drawn back up. Joe will begin us off this time with the play. And it looks like we have both players on a mulligan to 6. Let's see how Joe starts things off. We've got a Badlands and a Passing of the Turn. Tropical Island from Ryan. Both players starting things a little slow. But Joe saying, hey, you remember me? Black Knight. And we're going to start things off early with Fraying Sanity. 2-mana Dreadhorde Butcher. Chonk in for 3. Grow that Butcher. And no cards went to the graveyard, so no milling occurs. We've got Surgical Tangle, Double Tangle, Bond of Insight, Ashiok, and Surgical in Ryan's hand. So I could definitely see probably a Tangle on this turn. And yep, we do have those creatures tangled up. This means that the Butcher won't grow, didn't deal combat damage. And here we have the Amat Eternal on the field. 4 mana. Looks like this will be a Bond of Insight. Yep. So each player will mill 4, and then Ryan will be able to return up to 2 instants and or sorceries from their graveyard to their hand. So Ryan only had 1 instant sorcery at first, but milling into a Time Twister is great news for them. Joe lost a Ritual Misstep, another Butcher, and Angrath's Rampage. Angrath's Rampage probably to catch out the Ashiok. Can't deal combat damage to kill the Planeswalkers with all the fogs around, but the Rampage will help. Not sure if we had the extra mill 4 from Fraying Sanity. And yeah, the Black Knight and Dreadhorde Butcher were supposed to be tapped from last turn. Let's see. All right, looks like Joe had drawn that Swamp. And so we're just reversing, making sure that we get that. And then, yeah, Joe drew Badlands. All right, we're all caught up. Ryan taken 4 from the Amad Eternal. The Amad Eternal regenerated back up to its 5/5 status. And we're going to have a Black Knight hit the field. So as I was saying, the Angrath's Rampage going to do a good job of killing off Ashiok. They'll have to be careful, make sure that Tamiyo isn't on the field to counteract the sacrifice. Looks like we're figuring out what happened, making sure everything's all good to go. Okay. We'll have pay 2 life for a surgical extraction on Angrath's Rampage. In response, we're tapping 2 for a double bolt straight to Ryan. Ouch. Yeah, Ryan at 5 now. But noting the Phyrexian Obliterator. Seeing Ankh of Mishra as another way to deal direct damage without combat. We've got a Withered Wretch to prevent loops with Tamiyo. But looks like those were the only rampages. So now Ryan, really under the gun, has 1 fewer surgical to remove the lightning bolts from Joe. And sitting at 5 life when Joe has 4 creatures on the board. Yeah, from the Fraying Sanity, we have 2 bolts. Yep. Ashiok going to mill 4. Hitting the Fraying Sanity up to 6. And we'll have another mill of 6. Ooh, 1 of the 2 bolts left. And a Bad Moon down. All right, we're untapping with our creatures. Now there's a game here. We see that Ryan has a Tangle and has the mana to cast it. Does Joe have lethal with 2 creatures? Yeah, with the Emma and a 2/2, that's enough. Oh, but Joe swings with all of them. Wait, I'm confused. Where'd that Black Knight come from? Did he play that Black Knight? Wherever it came from, it looks like it must have attacked. But we have Ryan attacking Joe's deck for 4 with Ashiok. End step, we mill 4 more. None of Joe's creatures are going to untap. If we hadn't attacked with all last turn, then maybe we'd have extra creatures up. Which would have made this Bad Moon potential. Another mill of 4. And then going to end step immediately for another 4 mil. There goes the last lightning bolt. No more direct damage available for Joe. And at this point, if an Ankh Mishra comes out, Ryan's not going to play any more lands. And here we have Tangle played out yet again. And Dread Malkin. A quick library count. With an Ipni Rivulet and Ashiok out, that's 8 mil. Which with the Fraying Sanity would be 16 mil. Joe will have to draw a card. If this indeed is the last turn, then staggering attacks might not have worked out. Might have still been 1 turn behind. Let's see. Ryan just making sure that everything is perfectly calculated for. Don't want to make a mistake when you're this close to getting it. And yeah, that's enough. Ryan takes it in 2 to secure 100 points for them. Congratulations.